time for sure. Hey, look at that. Hey everybody, it's the Jimmy Doane Show. We're back. It's 4 o'clock on Sunday, and that means we're doing a live show right here on Facebook. We do this twice a week, Wednesdays and Sundays, on most circumstances.
Well, we'll show you in a minute why we didn't do last Wednesday.
That's right, but also I'll post a timestamp copy of this show up on YouTube so that you can switch through the topics at will. It's very convenient. That'll be up later tonight. Also, you can find us around the web on audio. Search for Doane, D-O-A-N-E. Today is the 26th day of January, year of the rat, the new Chinese New Year. And we are starting off. Whoop!
When did it start? Well, what happened?
Oh, you're just a little low there. Okay. I'll fix it. There we go. I moved the cameras a little bit. Well, you're bobbing up and down.
What are you
I'll
doing?
do it this way.
What are you doing?
I'm just trying to get us in the frame the right way. Yeah, let's see. There we go. That's better.
Well,
okay.
I think you can see here why we didn't go Wednesday. I'm sitting here with my black eye.
Jimmy had a fight with a door.
Yeah, I had a fight with a door. That was pretty bad.
You should see the door.
Yeah, that's right. The door is all black and blue anyway. But so we're having fun anyway. Let's see, the Chinese New Year, and
Yes.
of course lots happening in China,
Yes.
in Chinatown.
And I will bring us there now.
Okay.
So,
The
blammo.
Blammo, there we are. Oh, thank you so much.
That's right. Well, you're at the exotic food market.
Yes, as well I should be. Is this in Wuhan or wherever it's called?
Yes, yes.
What's the name of the place?
Wuhan, I think is what it is. So there, and you're right.
Right in it. That's right. Okay,
Oops.
good.
Jeez. Okay. I messed this all up. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. Well, I'll have to get it straightened out as we go here, I guess.
Yeah, as we go. Great. We wouldn't want to set anything up ahead of time.
No, heck
I mean,
no.
I've been here for 3 minutes and you don't have it all set
Yeah,
up exactly right. Okay.
Nope.
Chinese leader warns of grave coronavirus crisis as U.S. diplomats appear to leave Wuhan.
Yeah.
Now, of course, Wuhan is down there in southeast somewhere, I think, China.
I didn't look to see where it was.
I think it's kind of southeasty, but it's a place where they have this natural food market, and they showed pictures of it.
Yes.
And it's like...
Well, yeah, you're there now. You can
Right.
see behind you, you've got spider king, water beetles, lotus beetles, centipede, sheep's penis, and snails.
Well, not only that, they have bats.
Yes.
And snakes.
Yeah.
And that's where they think maybe it was from a bat.
I've heard 3 different stories. I've heard bat first, and then I heard snake, and then I heard it got released from a lab.
I heard that too, because that is apparently a bio-lab down there.
I don't know.
That's what that is a bio-lab in that area. And of course, always nice to have your bio-lab right next to your food.
Sure.
And it reminds me, I've been binging on, let me go back again.
Okay.
I've been binging on Cheers.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And the intro to Cheers on the binging is where this guy's in there, he's having a beer, and they said, what do you do? He says, well, I work in a bio lab. And he said, it's just, it's really kind of bad. And they're all standing around, the guy saying, oh, that's interesting, that's fascinating. And he says, we have this, that, and the other biohazards and so forth. But, we pretty much clean it all up and everything. And then he gets ready to walk out, and there's this flurry as they take all of his glass and his silverware, they throw it here, they spray the whole place down with Danny disinfectant and everything,
Because he's contaminated.
Because he's contaminated everything. Yeah, it's kind of fun. So anyway,
go ahead.
So anyway, the U.S. closed its consulate down there.
Really?
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't, we've got consulates everywhere, which is kind of interesting. So. And so far, the coronavirus apparently has claimed, as recent as 41 lives.
Yeah, the way that everybody's been reacting. I mean, first I saw bodies in the streets.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw
didn't see that
headline, and I saw bodies piled up in the hospital. Yeah, and I'm thinking 41. What did they do? Move them from the street and pile them in the hospital then? Because there would have to be, and I would think with a shutdown like that, there would have to be 1,000 deaths or something. I mean, it would.
Well, of course, one of the pundits here in the States has said, we can't believe what any of these people tell us.
Yeah.
They're Chinese. They're a bunch of liars.
Well, it's all state-controlled information.
Right. Well, you can understand that here in this country, when you have state information that comes out from the Department of State or something,
Yeah.
you know, you sit there and say, yeah, right. Okay.
Sure, and that's us.
That's
over
us.
here.
I mean, we don't trust our honest government.
Exactly.
And so here you got a totalitarian regime. You seriously?
Well, I did see a commercial with a bunch of happy Chinese people with no masks on, saying, "We're fine, we're good, we're healthy."
Yeah. Okay.
No masks.
No
look.
masks. That's right. And
Come
then
on down.
They were carted off. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And then they dropped dead.
They dropped dead, right. Well, anyway, the virus which broke out in Wuhan last month has infected more than 1,200 people in 29 provinces, which is interesting because that's a lot. That's really spread pretty thin.
Yeah.
That's what it says. Killed 41 people. And the second case, it turns out, before I came over here, where there are now 4 cases confirmed supposedly here in the United States.
Okay.
Epidemic, look out, run for the hills. Okay. There have been no deaths outside of China.
Okay.
Okay. And apparently the mortality rate is something like 0.01% or less.
Okay.
Which is interesting because the 1918 Spanish flu or whatever it was, now I'm not sure this is 100% correct, but apparently it caused at least 650 or 600, almost 700,000 deaths in the United States.
Yeah.
20 million worldwide.
Yeah.
And that was, that lasted about a year and a half before it fizzled out. And it was a lot of people, and again, mostly in concentrated cities and so forth, which you'd expect.
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing, but I mean, that was pre-penicillin. I mean, that's
right.
You're talking about the ancient, let's let some blood out of y'all and
women now, you got to
drill a hole in your head.
Wait, sorry, put a what you call it on you,
leech you.
Well, who die off from the virus. Yeah, you do have to understand these are viruses.
Yeah.
And penicillin wouldn't have done you much good.
Well, we don't know what's doing the actual killing. Sometimes the virus just wipes out your system, and then other bacteria come in and actually do the killing. And
well, maybe, but they basically
in all of my medical knowledge,
antibiotics are primarily for bacteria type stuff.
I am a doctor.
Yes,
although not
That's right.
of medicine.
So anyway, I love this. The State Department has made sure that all essential personnel have been ordered to leave the city of 11 million.
Essential personnel. Y'all aren't essential.
That's right.
You stay here.
We're flying in a C-141, and essential people go.
That's right. Oh, hey, Scott.
So
anyway, good to have you.
Essential people. So the UK researcher, now this is kind of interesting, we're going to have to watch this. A UK researcher predicts over 250,000 Chinese will have the coronavirus in 10 days. That's February 6th, okay? So stay alert. Yeah. February 6th, let's find out if there are, they said right now that maybe there's 40,000 or has infected, 1,200 people have been infected so far. So the question is, in 10 days, by February 6th, are there going to be 250,000 infected? Well,
it's interesting because when I did my little R research study about catastrophes, I looked at plagues and stuff, and the truth is we're kind of due for one from the standpoint of population density and lack of sanitation, things like that. We've really blown up in those areas, and to the point where the population should be vulnerable. And I was expecting there to be, we had the Ebola thing a couple years ago or a year ago, and it was, I think I predicted like 10,000 deaths, and that's how many there were.
Really?
Yeah, before they figured it all out.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought they got under control fairly quickly.
Well, that was fairly quickly. This was in a densely populated area of West Africa and they don't have hospitals and stuff over there. I mean, the difference is our people came back with Ebola, and we just sent them to the hospital. Okay, you're good. Checking aspirin, whatever, and on your way.
Right.
But because we have modern medicine now in China, I would imagine it's halfway between. You probably got some medicine, some access to health care, but probably not the best.
Well, interestingly enough, when the SARS thing came in China, they built hospitals around them. This was, I don't know when this was, 10, 15 years.
It was like 2002 or 3
Yeah, right. So they apparently, ramped up some of their health care at the time.
I heard they built a hospital in like 6 days.
Well, wait a minute. I'm coming to that.
Okay.
China rushes to build a new hospital for virus within 10 days. Mm-hmm. And, of course, they said the new hospital will have a capacity of 1,000 beds and 275,000 square feet. And they're rushing to build a new hospital in a staggering 10 days to treat patients at the epicenter of the deadly virus outbreak, which has stricken hundreds of people, 830 it says here, the state media reported. Now, one of the things I am curious to know about is two things. One, what about the workers? I mean, they're going to be running in there. Here's the epicenter of the virus.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
no problem.
Come on down. We got a job for you.
That's right.
And I'm sitting there thinking,
Time and a half.
Time and a half, right? It's time and a half. If I was a workforce, it's a city of what, 10 million or something? Or
I don't know.
It's a city of 11 million people live in this area. Well, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
And if you think something was going to spread, it would be I don't know. You wonder how they're going to take care of it. I look at the Dustin Hoffman movie where they quarantined.
Yeah. They blew up the one town.
Blew up the one town completely. With this giant firebomb. And so, 11 million. Hey, what are you talking about? We got 900 million people in the country.
Yeah, exactly.
11 million, poof, gone.
No problem.
No problem. That's right. We'll take care of them.
Yeah.
But I think that it's interesting. The workers, if I don't know what they're going to do, but that brings up another thing. But I'm wondering if this isn't kind of like Chernobyl, in a way. When Chernobyl went, I don't know what they did but I think they evacuated a lot of people. But they were all, the people that went in there, a lot of them died.
Well, yeah, a handful of people died. That was like literally they put people in a helicopter, flew them over the dome where the radiation cone was coming out of. By the time the helicopter landed, 2 of the people had died.
Oh, wow.
It was like just.
Well, they put them all. I saw pictures. They put them all in the big hazmat suits, and those people still died. I mean, later.
Right.
It was anywhere from weeks to years later.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would want to, be whatever that was. So anyway, the facility in the central city of Wuhan is expected to be in use by February 3rd. I mean, we're talking a week away, 10 days, to serve a rising number of patients infected by the coronavirus. Now, why is this named after a beer?
Corona, that's right.
What is this? Is this, it's a friendly
Sue.
I don't understand that.
Sorry, change your latitude.
I think it's kind of racist because, that's from Mexico.
Well, right. Well, and this is on the heels of the Spanish flu, so obviously there's
there's a
conspiracy.
So anyway, it says here in 2003, you were right about the thing. They erected a hospital in Beijing's rural outskirts, barely a week to cater barely a week to get a hold of the SARS thing, which killed, by the way. It says here, which killed 349 people in mainland China and 299 in Hong Kong.
You're good. Just doing a little administrative fixing here.
Now, one of the things that is interesting about this, it says in the panic situation, virus masks sell out.
Yes.
As prices skyrocket.
Yes.
Now, it's interesting because...
Gouging them.
I mean, really, here's the gouging part. Pharmacies across Hong Kong on Friday sold out of masks to prevent the wearer from contracting the deadly virus. Now, it turns out that your normal, what I wear for my lung thing, it's smaller than that. A virus is small.
Yeah.
Teeny.
Yeah.
And it goes through those pretty quickly. You need to have a real, one of the things with the big bulbs here or something in order to have any protection at all.
What is it just provide like a little net and just catches it?
I don't know, but I can tell you that they're apparently the filtration system. I mean, you got to have like the little mask that I use is just a cloth mask. Yeah. And when you go through the hospital, you're supposed to have that. So now that, of course, what I've had my immune system is down a little bit because of the double lung transplant from almost 7 years ago now, 6.5 years. And this is the normal, regular bacterial germs. But if you're not around people that much, it's no big deal. But this stuff here, a virus, remember, is minuscule compared to a bacteria. Yeah. And so those little clothy masks don't do dork. Yeah. And you see people walking around all the time with that, and you might as well not have one. But if you've got the paint masks, with the two little, apparently that might do something. I don't know.
Well, maybe. I know the Japanese people always walk around with those little masks when they get sick. Nobody's sneezing on people over there or anything.
Well, sneezing again, remember, that's bacteria.
Well, I know, but what I was thinking is that if their immune systems are compromised, they might be more susceptible to the virus.
Absolutely. That's absolutely right. So anyway, what's interesting, of course, the big news here is the price gouging.
Ah, killing them.
Killing them. Killing them. Thank you so much for that. The most popular respirator is the Some Medical Mask, which is sold out in many pharmacies across Hong Kong. And any remaining N95 masks have been sold for as much as $60.
Oh, I thought it was $6. So
Wait a minute. These are Hong Kong dollars.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes.
That's about $7.75. A massive 700% markup.
Oh, yeah.
Considering the masks usually sell for less than $1. And so I think that this is interesting. That I don't know if they have anti-gouging laws, but you got to understand that I would think that the people that really care have got the money, rich people.
Well, it's interesting because the gouge is a whole $6.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So it's like
you're going to save your life for $7.75.
That's right. Or you're going to object.
Well, the little minor problem, even at that price, they have none. I mean, they literally sold out.
Well, but that's why you raise the price.
Right, exactly. Well, it turns out that apparently Amazon has a place over there. People have been ordering them off of Amazon, and they're out. Whatever their distribution facility is, I don't know, in Hong Kong or someplace. So I thought that our local CDC has confirmed a second U.S. case. Actually, it turns out, as I walked over here, we now have 4, and I think most of them are in Southern California. But these people all came from Wuhan. So now of course you got to ask yourself, if you were, this reminds me a little bit once again of the Outbreak business, and that is a movie with Dustin Hoffman, and that is, they flew here from China. They were on an airplane with 300 other people, and they were caught with the. I would certainly go and be running down the passenger list to find out.
Well, that's what they do.
I know it is, but it's kind of interesting that it's interesting how quickly this stuff spreads. I mean, even when you think about the Black Plague in 13, whenever it was, the end of the with the 14th century.
Yeah.
Is that the 14th century?
Yeah, it was 1330s.
Yeah. And I mean, that spread. You had to have a ship that came in from someplace, and they were. You go into Venice or someplace, and then it would spread to Paris.
Yeah. Well, once it was pneumonic, then it was spread through the air. Once it mutated.
Right. But still, when you say the air, how much wind is there from Venice to Paris?
Well, I just mean somebody coughs or something.
Right. No, I understand.
And they were talking about. I mean, I remember reading a story, an account of like some pigs who went out into the street and were playing or eating some clothes and some people who had died and stuff, and the pigs died like that day. I mean, it's the bubonic.
Well, it was
quick.
Throw out you did.
Yeah.
It is interesting. Of course, it's flea-borne. The bubonic plague was from a flea.
Okay.
But I don't know the how it was. But when you consider how much it wiped out, I don't know, 1/5 of Europe or something.
Yeah.
And with didn't have jet planes with 300 people.
Right.
From Virus Central landing in Chicago.
Right.
So.
But they also didn't even know what a virus was.
No, totally. And of course, and I think that was bacterial. I'm getting
I think so.
So whatever, but still no penicillin.
Right.
And
we've had there's been a couple of bubonics pop up occasionally.
Right.
Every few years you see one case.
Well, it's interesting because they did say that they were looking at the 23andMe business or whatever, and when they examine some of that stuff, they find that ancestors have got something in their DNA that inhibits the virus.
Really?
Yeah. What happened is there were people that caught it and didn't die.
Right.
And so, there was they
mutate.
They mutate. That's right. Well, that's what they were worried about. This thing, they said this was a secondary, very quick mutation. And when you think about it, how fast these bugs multiply, I mean, in an hour you can have 50 million. And out of the 50 million, if only 3 survive. That's then an hour later you got another 50 million.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean the fact is that the mutation rate must be phenomenal.
All it takes is one little change.
Boy, that's for sure. So, but anyway, I just thought you would go through and find out who's going to die here. We got some more stuff on this.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out. Like you said, we'll find out really how bad it is. The good news, the good news is that the deadlier the virus is, the easier it is to find and contain.
The problem is that I think that they have said that the gestation period.
Exactly. That's
the real problem.
Exactly.
They said it's up to 10 days.
And that's the nightmare scenario is you've got a bug that gets in you, stays for a while, and then comes out all at once.
Right. Exactly.
And I don't know. That's super rare, but that could be the mutation.
Yeah, that could be the mutation. Is it waits 10 days?
Exactly.
And so when the pustules start coming out, a little too late.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's interesting because when we had measles and chickenpox and everything, when I was a kid, you would have, I wouldn't call it an epidemic, but you were, when you would be, you could pass it on for a while. But after you healed, more or less, you were done. You couldn't pass it on then. And but thinking about China, talk about an invasive species. Mm-hmm. Smugglers tried to bring 3,700 invasive crabs through the port of Cincinnati. Wait a minute now, it gets better. U.S. Customs and Border Protection says agricultural specialists at the port of Cincinnati, and this I thought was interesting, has stopped 51 shipments of invasive mitten crabs. Being smuggled into the country over the past 4 months.
They don't have claws, they just have...
mittens, that's what I'm guessing, Apparently, they are shipments containing 3,700 of the live crabs, weighing 3,400 pounds, which means they were like a pound each.
Oh, okay.
That's a big crab.
Yeah.
Originated in China and Hong Kong.
Cool.
And were destined for businesses and homes in multiple states, mostly New York. It's illegal to import mitten crabs in the United States without a permit.
Without a permit.
So you can get a permit.
Yeah.
And apparently they're quite the delicacy, and that's why they sell for up to $50 each here in the States. Now you can imagine, you're in China and you're out there corralling these, and you're being paid 50 cents a quarter, whatever, per crab. Yeah. And you get 30 or 50 or whatever of them, and you sell. I mean, you can retire on it practically. Woo-hoo. And so it's a delicacy, and of course I guess they sell them to Chinese restaurants in New York and Chicago, wherever it is. Yeah. I don't know why they're coming through Cincinnati, but talk about an invasion. Well, they stopped them, but I thought it was interesting. They stopped. This is over 4 months. They've got 3,700 of them, 34. So I guess they have a mitten detector or something there at the port. But they're bringing it in through Cincinnati, which I guess they figured, they're bringing it in the international airport of some East Jesus somewhere out in the Nowheresville. Yeah. And so anyway, but you see the problem was they didn't get a permit. Right. Could have been fine. Just fine if you stand.
I will make it legal.
That's right. I will make it legal. So so anyway, that's our China news for the moment.
All right.
Okay, moving along. This concerns one of your friends.
Okay.
Joe Rogan.
Oh, yes.
Sanders touts controversial comedians 2020 support sparking criticism. Yes. Boy, they were all over Joe Rogan, weren't they? Yeah. I mean, Democratic presidential hopeful Bernie decision to highlight an unofficial endorsement from Joe Rogan, the comedian's brand of humor that some see as dismissive issues like equal pay and transgender rights. Apparently, he's up for that.
Yeah. See, I mean, so Joe is a total lefty. There's no question about it. Okay. He's all in on social. I mean, he's for UBI, universal basic income. He's for universal health care, universal education. I mean, you could name the left program. He's for it, except he is involved in sports heavily, obviously, and he's against the crossovers in terms of trans people being able to participate in other sports. Okay. Because he sees the direct thing. I mean, he's watched Fallon Fox fight.
He's an MMA expert, right?
Yeah,
Black belt or something?
Oh, yeah. He was a state champ in New Jersey, and then now he's the best color commentator in the business. Right. And he sees stuff, and he knows it, and it's awesome, and he's great at it. So he's not for trans rights in the sense that you get to participate in whatever league you want to participate in. You have to go by the rules of the league.
Well, he does, but the other thing you have to remember is he interviews somebody for 2 or 3 hours every day.
Yeah.
And he's interviewed Ben Shapiro.
Oh yeah.
And Jordan Peterson and people like this that are on, and you know, they've been very harmonious interviews.
Oh sure, he's a super nice guy.
Yeah, I mean, really. So it's interesting to see that that Ben Shapiro couldn't convince you of anything to prime off the lefty.
He interviewed Peter Schiff. He's got a Peter Schiff.
Oh, that's right. He does. That's right. Yeah,
a couple of them, in fact. And I think he listens to Schiff, but until you really go through that mental calculation in your head about how the money gets created and how it gets distributed, he knows he's got a deficiency in the economic analysis of that stuff, and he puts it out there. He says, "If you can convince me, go ahead." And so he just knows it's a blind spot, but he likes the concept, as everybody does, of universal health care, universal education, universal income.
Universal income. So he says, so anyway, the online flap comes as Senator from Vermont has been trying to move past weeks-long controversy over whether he told Elizabeth Warren that women couldn't be president.
Yeah,
and of course that was bogus anyway.
Yeah, we talked about that.
We did. But so he's apparently he has now leading in both the two key states that are coming up here very shortly. I think February 6th or something is that whatever
Iowa.
Next Tuesday is. No, is Iowa, right? And then shortly after that is New Hampshire.
Okay.
And he's leading in both of those. Now, I don't know if he's with all the people that are running. I doubt if he's going to get 50%, but he could. You know, if he gets a plurality, that's going to be a big deal. So he. But anyway, he said he'd probably vote for Bernie. He's been insanely consistent his entire life. I personally would put the emphasis on insanely. But he says, look, you can dig up dirt on every single human being that's ever existed if you catch them at the worst moment. Well, you know, yeah, but that doesn't mean that you dig up dirt on Hitler, that you're going to say, but he did, or if Mussolini, he made the trains run on time. So, I mean, there's some kinds of dirt, if you dig it up, pretty much dismiss you out of everything.
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean,
it's not dirt. It's what you did, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think he's. I think he's just trying to point out that the cancel culture needs to tap the brakes a little bit from the standpoint of you're going to find something if you look hard enough. And here's a classic example: people are jumping on Joe for the trans thing, and also he doesn't believe that there's any unequal pay situation. He thinks that that's all worked out in the wash.
Yeah,
and so because of those two views, people are jumping on Bernie for accepting his endorsement.
Yeah.
And then of course the other people are coming in and saying, look, take whoever you can get. If he's going to endorse you, and here's a guy with 90 million downloads a month or something.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, of course you want him on your side.
Sure.
Now that being said, there's an ad that's cut right now with Tulsi and him, and
Tulsi
Gabbard and Rogan.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because he interviewed Tulsi also.
Okay.
And so she cut an ad out of their interview.
Okay.
And it goes back and forth, and it's a really good ad.
Okay.
And it just is a nice exposition of what her position is. And,
yeah.
And
well, they were all over. Apparently, his lefty friends were all over him too, for this. You know, you need to, or they were all over. Bernie needed to disavow him or something.
Yeah.
Didn't he disavow somebody else that endorsed him? I don't think it was. I don't think it was the ex-KKK guy, but somebody that.
Yeah, that's ringing a bell.
I should have put it down here, but there was somebody, I believe, and they jumped on him for accepting that particular thing, and finally I think he went and disavowed. Doesn't really matter. If I don't know the name, then forget it.
Spencer or something?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, Spencer, right. But, interestingly enough, the Democrats have a new impeachment hero. Going to move on to impeachment.
Okay.
Who is, guess who?
Peter Schiff.
No.
I mean, not Peter Schiff, but...
Napolitano.
Oh, Napolitano.
Napolitano, who is the hero from Fox News, been on there forever. And he has now come out and said, as far as he's concerned, Trump should be thrown out. They should get rid of him. Napolitano described the proceedings as deadly serious business. Now he's one of the heroes on Fox News.
Yeah,
he's one of the people. They call him on there all the time as the most reasonable. He's a judge.
Oh yeah.
They call him Judge Napalitano.
Yeah.
Who could be wrong? But of course, what's interesting is that Judge Perrine, or whatever her name is, she's come out all for I think, for Trump. And I don't know what. Anyway, she's another one of the TV that's on all the time. But anyway, he's come out and he said, deadly serious business based on well-established constitutional norms. He also made a case why he believes there is an ample and uncontradicted evidence for the Senate to vote to remove the president. There are valid, lawful, constitutional arguments for Trump's impeachment that ought to be taken seriously.
Right. Well, that's all true.
Is it?
Yeah. Because, look, here's what we said from the beginning. This is not a trial. This is a political process. Impeachment is different from everything. It's its own little thing, and it's governed by one or two sentences in the Constitution. So nobody can say what it really is, and everything he just said is accurate from the standpoint of there is an argument that you can make that this is 100% valid. This is a high crime or a misdemeanor, which nobody can define.
Right.
And so therefore it fits the bill. And
well, as he says, the word crimes does not refer to violations of federal criminal statutes.
Well,
it
according
refers
to him,
behavior that is so destructive of the constitutional order that is the equivalent of statutory crimes.
according to him.
According to him, right.
And with all the precedent that he can cite for that is what?
Yeah, exactly.
There's very little. There's some
that gets-
discussions of some people who talked about what these things mean. And like we talked about, the phrase high crimes and misdemeanors is 700 years old. 700. You don't think the meaning has changed between now and then? And then there's also the concept that people keep throwing out this, well, what does it mean? What does it mean? Well, that's not a direct question, because it can mean one thing to one person and something else to somebody else. And so you could have two people in their heads, well, I'm going to vote for high crimes and misdemeanors to be in the Constitution, and because I know that means high crimes like felonies. Like a high crime, if you were to ask somebody, what's a high crime? They would say felony. But they didn't use the word felony because it probably didn't exist then. And so you've got this high crime. So that's what people might interpret. But other people will read, oh, he says misdemeanors. Misdemeanors means anything. That means stole a piece of gum. And then now it can be crime-like. So, I don't know, thought about stealing a piece of gum or something. And that's the way it can be. If the House votes for impeachment and the Senate convicts, it's over. There's no, you can't be like, well, that's illegal. No, it doesn't matter. There is no law that governs that. And so all they're doing is taking the judge out of context here, or even in context, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
because he's right. They can vote to remove the president for literally no reason. They can do it. And the only consequence is at the ballot box the next year.
Well, good question. Because what happens if somehow there's I don't know what would happen, but let's say the Senate does vote to remove him.
Yeah.
He's out that next day, right?
That's a good question. Yeah, I guess so.
And so then what? Where are we? I don't think
they swear Pence in.
Pence in.
And then there's not like there's an appeal.
Right,
or
no
anything.
appeal. But I mean, what gets me is that when I see something like this, the first thing that somebody would, before you start voicing off on this, is okay. Let's check out here a little bit in the ramifications. What do you think is going? Not that you can tell the future.
Yeah. Well, here are the ramifications. If the president is different in party from the House and the Senate from now on, you can expect him to be impeached and removed.
Right.
That's just it.
Yeah,
it doesn't even matter what the cause is.
Right.
That's what's going to happen. And in fact, if the House is different from the president, you'll get an impeachment every single presidential.
Yeah. Why not?
Why not?
Hey, we can get away with
That's it.
I think that's one of the things that they have to look at is the ultimate ramifications of this are pretty clear, and you've opened up a Pandora's box.
No, it's sort of been opened, and the top's been sort of cracked a little bit, but now it seems to be flung wide open, and we'll see. It's interesting. I would hope, and this is the only thing I can imagine is perhaps the Chief Justice could articulate in his position as presiding over this, he might be able to articulate some standard for the future. But I doubt it, because as we've just talked about, look, the words are there in the Constitution. That's what you go by.
They take a vote, and it's not like the judge can say, not like in a regular court.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not like a regular court at all.
Exactly. So this is what we're up against at this point, and everybody's saying he's not going to be removed because he owns the Senate, or all the Republicans are there, and so we'll see. But it'll be interesting to see next election cycle what happens.
Well, this is the other thing: is that as they said, what's tragic about this is that they want to. Here we are within shooting range of the next election.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking a couple of months away, right? And now you want to throw it out,
right?
I mean, can't you just wait a little while and see what the vote looks like?
Well, and this is, oh my God, the most ridiculous political theater that we saw this week came from the House managers and the way that they tried to frame this situation. And Nadler came out and said, we have to remove him because otherwise the next election will be compromised.
Right.
If you think about that the implication is that every presidential election will be compromised, because any president could do what they're imagining he would do. That is, set up some quid pro quo, and they're projecting that our elections are so flimsy and indefensible that any country that wants to interfere and control the election can do that, which is ridiculous. I mean, that's the assertion, is that our elections are no good anymore. So you have to use the political process. Well, and not even the courts, he said. He talks about, they were saying, we can't get these witnesses because Trump has appealed the ruling to the court and it'll take years. He'll be able to hold up the litigation for years. And I'm thinking, what? No, but why? Why years? What are you talking about? Look, the reason that a litigation takes years is because there's other stuff in front of it. There's other laws they have to adjudicate. And you know what they do when there's something that's more important? They move all that stuff out of the way.
Right.
And they cut right to the chase.
They do, right.
So
that's what they did with Gore v. Bush.
Exactly. It's in the Supreme Court in a matter of weeks and done and over. And there's no reason why all those adjudications couldn't be made within a matter of weeks. Literally, and if not days.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to slam it through, every once in a while, the dockets get backed up in courts. And we have what they call a rocket docket. And they'll bring in hundreds of people and just cram them through the system as fast as they can to clear out the dockets. Now, they're not doing it unconstitutional because they'll ask them, do you want to take the plea and that kind of stuff. But the point is that they schedule it all. Right. They schedule it to be done, and then it gets done.
Well, the other thing that
what else are they going to do?
Is here, when you talk about this, they have a docket, okay, and suddenly you have to move this one up in front. Okay, so it delays the docket by what, a week?
Exactly.
I mean, so
big deal.
It's not like you've been denied due process.
Exactly.
So
and then you think about this. I mean, it's not as if the Democrats rushed to get this impeachment through anyway. I mean, they held the articles for weeks. I mean, it can't be that important.
Right.
They voted to give Trump a bunch of new money for the defense spending. You don't do that if he's Putin's puppet.
Yeah.
I mean, how is that even? Why would you even do that? So it belies their approach. Now, the more political theater in this impeachment thing, Schiff. People are not going to recognize this, I don't think, except Scott completely nailed it. Scott Adams did. Schiff, and that is Adam Schiff, doing the presentation as the House manager to the Senate, completely blew their case.
Really?
He destroyed their own case.
And how did he do that?
Because he talked about Trump's motive. And this entire...
Read his mind?
Yes. And this entire
Minority
situation...
Report?
Well, yeah, but it gets even better. He articulated Trump's side. He said, my position is Trump's position. And in not so many words, what he said was, he said that Trump believed the conspiracy theories that Ukraine was involved in the election. And that's what he was looking into. Well, if that's what he was looking into, then we're talking about the 2016 election. And then we're talking about him investigating something that's already happened, not him trying to rig something for the future.
Okay.
And their whole case lies on the concept that Trump took these actions with malicious intent. Because everybody recognizes that if he had a good reason to do it, like Scott continually points out, that he does have a good reason to investigate Burisma and Biden stuff, and let me get to that in 1 second. But if he had a good reason, then he's on solid ground. And if he didn't have a good reason, then he should be impeached. But Schiff literally came out and said that Trump believed the stuff that Rudy Giuliani was saying and that that's why he went over to Ukraine. Well, we're done here. I mean, if I was the attorney, if this was a real court of law, you would literally stand up right then and you'd say, Judge, I motion for a directed verdict. The other side has just articulated our position and put that in evidence. We're done. It's over. I mean, there's nothing else to consider here. Their position is that my guy had clear motives. So, but the only person I've seen that's recognized that so far is Scott Adams, who went and harped on it.
Now, is it a pure coincidence that Scott Adams has the same name as Adam Schiff?
Yeah, right.
You think about it, because Adam Schiff, that if you move the S from his last name to then it's Adams Hift.
That's it. So. But also, you had Nadler up there saying if anybody even tries to deny witnesses, the appearance of witnesses, that they're part of the cover-up.
Okay.
And then literally in the same interview, he said that Hunter Biden shouldn't be called as a witness.
Okay.
So in other words, he's negotiating for witnesses.
But you can't have this one.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to deny you this one, but you can't.
But you can't even deny other witnesses. Right. Or you're part of it. You're part of it. It's like, and of course the justice came out fortunately and admonished everybody for
at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I noticed that. You see their hair and everything. It was funny.
Well, speaking of that, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say one more thing. They talked about Hunter Biden, and people have talked about the corruption of Hunter Biden, and they're talking about how does this guy with no experience and all this stuff make $50,000 a month for these things. I saw a report where Hunter Biden got $1.5 billion for the firm that he was working for.
Okay.
Sounds like he earned his $50,000 a month.
Well, not only that, right. Well, not only that.
It's worth every penny.
We're absolutely. The idea that the $50,000 a month is a nothing burger when you consider what they were buying. They're buying this guy's name.
Exactly.
And he delivered. And
right.
So,
and the $1.5 billion doesn't need to be any corruption or anything
quid pro quo.
Well, but of course that's just a business deal.
Yeah, I know.
And so the point is that you can say whatever you want about Hunter Biden getting the cash, but he earned it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, right. Well, that's one of the things. The same thing that happens when they're all bent out of shape because some Jamie Dimon or somebody like this gets a $38 million bonus. Well, but he just added X numbers of trillions to the bottom line of Merrill Lynch or whatever.
Well, yeah, I want to say something about. All right, I'll just say it now. Did you? Where were you on?
I'm moving along.
Okay, then I got one thing to interject. Did you see what AOC said this week?
No.
This was to me the biggest foot in mouth that I've heard so far. And this is the thing, I've been waiting for her to say something like this.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's going to stick or anything, but what she came out and said, if you're a billionaire, nobody actually earns $1 billion.
Right.
You take $1 billion.
Okay.
That's her position. That's her real position. Her real position is that all of the billionaires in our society, and all the past billionaires, crooks. Every single one of them.
What about the
thieves.
people that earn $500 million?
That's my next point. So now this is so interesting because she has this concept that if you're a worker, you're an honest, hardworking. That's it.
You with a shovel,
and you earn that money. But at some point in your earnings, you cross some threshold where you become evil, and now you're just sitting on your couch while other people are doing the work. Mm-hmm. And that's literally what she said. And this is what she really believes, and this is what Bernie believes too. Mm-hmm. They really believe that the executives at Exxon and Amazon and all, name your company, Apple, all those big companies, crooks, thieves. Well, and so that she has no problem. She would no problem putting them in jail and taking their money.
Yeah,
because they're thieves. That she really believes that.
What are they, Bernie Madoff, or is what everyone?
Exactly, every one of them, every single one of them has in some way defrauded. She can't imagine, even with an economics degree, how somebody could legitimately make $1 billion. You can make 100,000, I guess.
Oh yeah.
I guess.
Well, and $1 million.
And maybe.
We're talking a thousandth of $1 billion.
Right.
$1 million.
Right.
No problem.
Yeah, I guess.
I
But
guess.
So at some point, you cross some line.
Where's that line?
I don't know, and I'd love for her to articulate that, but it's obviously not in her head. She's got it in her head. She's working from the finite pie the scenario. She believes
she was a bartender.
I know, but she's supposed to have an economics degree.
Yeah.
But
I'll tell you, I would like to find about that school. And
oh my God! Can you imagine?
The
They must be going, "Oh, shut up!
Yeah.
Don't say that stuff." But I mean, I guess there's just enough people out there who don't know anything about economics that they must think that she's right or something. But you can't even imagine how a person could cross a threshold at some point, and all of a sudden, I guess they just become corrupt at some point.
Well, the threshold is interesting because if you look at the tax brackets, and there's a threshold.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know, when you go
everybody above that,
you above right. You
Yeah.
$1 more. I'm sorry.
Now you've become evil because you've taken someone. It's like she doesn't understand the entire concept of leveraging employees. She has no clue about how to start a business. Like if you own any business at all, she doesn't understand. She thinks, I guess, when you start a business, all you do is put other people to work, and you don't have to do anything. You can go sit on your couch. Because, that's how businesses get started. Forget about the 17-hour days that every business founder has put in from the beginning.
I was listening. I was talking about some of the people that founded those early businesses in Silicon Valley, and they said they were talking about 60-hour weeks and 80-hour weeks, and they said
Elon Musk is still working 80-hour weeks.
80-hour weeks, and he said, that's when it gets to be. They were talking about this, but one of the things here's kind of a little apocryphal thing. The efficiency experts. I think I've told this story before. The efficiency experts are going through IBM, and they were analyzing what each person did. They would go to their cubicle and find out what they did, and so they came up. What are your results? And they said, well, you got a guy over here in cubicle, 19C, doesn't appear to do anything. I mean, what this guy's nothing. Why don't you need to get rid of him? And they said, well, you don't quite understand. He's an idea man. And last year he saved us $500 million.
Right.
With just his ideas. That's all he did. He needed to move this over here and saved us $500 million.
Right.
But he looked like he was doing nothing.
Right.
So.
That is why you have people at the top making those decisions as to who's valuable and who's not, and you don't leave it up to some
a lot of times in businesses I've seen where they actually enlist, quote, the help, and they have awards for if you see something on your station that you think could be improved, and 3M does this a lot, and you can submit a suggestion box. If it gets implemented, you get money.
Nice.
They pay you for because you're on the floor.
Right.
They're doing something, and you've seen something. This is one of the things that I look at when I was in the hospital, and I'm looking at the stuff they use, the different kinds of band. Somebody came up with a little Band-Aid that has a hole in it. It's a nothing.
Right.
That holds the needle down. What they stick in your arm, and I mean, what are you? They must do jillions of those a year.
Right.
Because it's just the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Some nurse or somebody came up with this idea.
Right.
Why don't you just make it this shape instead? But they're there, and as far as I'm concerned, if they're retired on their yacht in the Caribbean for doing that, it made all the difference in the world.
Now, I will say this: one cutback in favor of what AOC is talking about. Our system protects people in a way that's unnatural with copyrights and patents.
Oh, that's right.
And so you could easily have a system where you have more workers empowered because you just eliminate the copyrights and patents. And then the workers could literally take the ideas and go start their own companies with the same ideas.
Right.
And then it would be whoever is the biggest, hardest worker that gets the stuff out there the fastest. And I mean, that's the natural way that it should be. Copyrights and patents are unnatural.
That's why they're so upset about China, because they got people working for a dime, and they come up with essentially the same stuff almost immediately, and then sell it. And they talk about copyright infringement. But again, I look at this. One of the things I do look at, one of the big deals that they talk about is music, the music industry, and they have the copyrights and everything. And as far as I'm concerned, if you come up with a great song, and it's original, you're going to do fine. You don't need to be worth billions.
Well, and also look, who do you want to see play the Rolling Stones song? The Rolling Stones or the cover band? you want to see the Rolling Stones play it.
Yeah.
And you want to hear the original by them. You don't want to hear the Strolling Stones play. It's like
Strolling Stones.
That's right. And so the patents and copyrights could be eliminated, and that would empower workers a huge amount. But
okay, we have to talk about that sometime, because that's a whole another subject.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on to this about the impeachment.
Okay.
Still nothing. They photographed a bunch of the senators, and guess you think about it, they have to sit there quiet for 10. These are senators, okay? I couldn't sit there for 10 hours straight. So they have apparently the little fidgety things. That and they've caught them. You're not supposed to have. I think the cell phones. You're not supposed to have any cell phones.
Yeah.
They smuggled a couple in.
Well, apparently they're using smart watches.
Yeah, exactly. Smart watches, and I guess they've got their solitaire on there. They showed. Here's what they said. The senators must remain seated during the impeachment trial. But this week, some of the members have been accused by the U.S. media of acting like bored school children. I guess, when you think about it, you put a school child in a 45-minute class, there's about half of them that they're going to act up, they're going to do anything. So anyway,
put them in a 12-hour
now you've got
class.
100 senators who have to sit there for 10 or 12 hours. Oh, actually, now they do have breaks, and they get lunch. And they get, I think every couple of hours, they get a 30-minute break, and that's when they run out in the hall and give their speeches or whatever. But Mr. Risch, a Republican who chairs the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, was seen this week slumped motionless with his eyes closed at his desk during the hearings. A spokesman for the Idaho senator denied he'd been asleep, telling Wall Street Journal that he was just listening closely with his eyes closed or cast down.
That's what I was doing too.
That's what I was doing. As your head clunks on the table. What's so funny is the idea that you could sit there. At that point, I would resign my Senate seat.
Well, I think this was a little bit of a punishment for the senators, and I think this was the concept of, look, okay, you guys want to play this game? Then you're going to sit around and do this stuff, and then meanwhile, only half of them get to campaign continuously. All the senators have to sit there,
right?
And they're not out in Iowa or whatever.
And of course, these are the ones that are the front runners. Bernie, he can't go out there.
Nope.
There's like 4 of them. So I thought that was. I thought that was kind of interesting.
It is.
If I were those people in the Senate, I'd say, let's get this thing on the road.
Well, it's what the most hilarious thing is that everybody already knows the end. It's literally kabuki theater.
Yeah.
We already know the outcome.
Yeah.
So, boy, that's got to make you feel like a productive citizen.
I would imagine also, if you'd been sitting there and listening to the previous 3 days when the people from the House were up there presenting their case, they repeated, and they must have stated their case 20 times. Right.
Yeah. Well, but the goal, of course, there, and the goal of this whole thing is a show. From the beginning, the concept that Nancy... Exactly. The whole concept was, look, do y'all want to say the word impeachment 5,000 times between now and Iowa? Yeah, sure, let's do that. And then we'll have all these stages where we get to talk about how evil the president is, and then it'll help us win the election. That was literally their goal. Now, I think there's a good chance it's going to backfire.
Oh, I believe so.
I don't think that the people... I think... could be wrong, but I think everybody sees this as a political...
Well, one of the things, a little minor problem is that the media are totally in the tank for the Democrats. I mean, I heard, when you heard the montage of Nadler's speech or of Schiff's speech, heroic...
Oh yeah,
just
tingling up the leg, the whole 9 yards.
My God, you'd have thought it was God had come. Demosthenes had come down and spit out his marbles and made the speech, from the gods.
That's what happened.
What the words that they put on this, I'm thinking.
And yet he literally made the biggest rookie mistake of all time.
You're right.
If it was a court of law, he'd have already lost.
Yeah.
That you can't. That's what happened to Aaron Hernandez, a football player. His attorney attorney got up in closing statement and said, well, he saw something and he didn't say anything. Well, that's the crime. That's the crime. And so they convicted him of it.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you just gave them the answer. So the concept that Schiff said that Trump believed the conspiracy theory, that he believed that Ukraine was involved in the 2016 election, legitimizes the investigation. But I don't know that, I mean, obviously people are going to vote the way that they're going to vote anyway. So
We're getting here to the end.
wow, that was quick.
It was quick because I'm going to save this probably for next time, but I got climate change and Missouri imprisonment for librarians, that's kind of an interesting one. Advanced facial recognition.
I saw one thing interesting I thought was kind of funny. Did you see Bezos donated $690,000 or something to the fires in Australia?
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of people came out and lambasted him, saying, "You make so much money, how dare you give so little?" And people created this little math thing where they were like, that's like if you earned $100,000 a year, you given 60 cents. And I'm like, no, that's not how math works. It's if you earned $100,000 a year, it's like you giving 6.9 times your annual salary.
Yeah.
Because it's the end of the money that gets there that
Right.
you count. It's not the percentage of the person who gave it that matters. So the fact is he gave $690,000. That's $690,000 more than I gave.
Yeah.
And more than most of those people who were complaining gave.
Yeah.
So shut up.
Yeah.
I mean, shut the hell up. I can't, you know what? I can't believe that they're coming after Bezos because he only donated $250,000.
He's rich and can do no right.
Apparently.
That's it.
Well, and of course, in the socialist minds, he's a literal crook.
That's true too. Yeah, he's a literal cook. Do you have anything in particular? I got one little thing about speaking about donating. Mm-hmm. George Soros to start a $1 billion school to fight nationalists and climate change.
Nationalists.
Yeah, well,
I keep hearing about these nationalists.
Well, what he's done, this is really interesting. He started a global university to fight authoritarian governments.
Uh-huh.
And he said the Open Society University Network will offer an international platform for teaching and research. This was at Davos. The university will be launched through a partnership through some Central European university and Bard College. I didn't look up Bard College, but I don't know what that is. But they're supposed to have access to quality education, especially an education that reinforces the autonomy of the individual by cultivating critical thinking and emphasizing academic freedom. And I thought that was kind of interesting coming from him in a way.
Yeah, it is.
He wants to fight. He says he doesn't like the overheated U.S. economy, the dominance of Facebook, and the autocratic rule of Xi Jinping and Modi, who's India, I think, and Bolsonaro, who's in Brazil. And Donald Trump, who he called a con man and the ultimate narcissist. So he's lumped them in all together. Mm-hmm. But you wonder, it sounds pretty good. Critical thinking is something that we lack in our, but a $1 billion thing. But I thought when people are donating something, now he could have donated the $1 billion and outdone what's his name for the fires. Right away, just like that. You're $675 million. Ha! I spit on that. Here's my $1 billion. Right. And when I spit by putting out the fire.
That's it.
On that. That's right. So, anyway, I just thought it was interesting that Soros, who donated $1 billion for
another crook.
Well, he's.
I'm just saying, according to them.
Yeah, according to them. No, not a crook. Because he's a billionaire, multi-billionaire. Yeah. I mean, he's worth a lot. He's worth, I don't know, way more than. And so's what's his name? The other guy that's running from New York, the mayor.
Yeah, Steyer or something.
No. Bloomberg.
Right.
Bloomberg is running, and he's worth 5 times what Trump is.
Oh yeah, $60 billion.
He could buy Trump in a heartbeat and buy him off.
And apparently Steyer is another billionaire in the.
But I don't know how many billions he's got. But
a mere one or something. I don't know.
But he's not allowed to run for president because he's a billionaire. Okay.
Well, yeah, it'll be interesting. And he's an old white guy.
That's right. Steyer's not that old, is he?
Well, I mean, he's not young.
No, he's not. Of course, shouldn't be. Okay. Anyway, I'm done. I mean, I'm not done, but a lot of stuff's going to have to wait till Wednesday.
Right. Well, it's 5 o'clock, so we're pretty much there. So, okay. Well, that was fun. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Scott? Hope you had some fun.
Maybe my eye will be gone by Wednesday.
Maybe so.
Damn door.
They're aggressive sometimes. All right. So thank you, Kevin MacLeod, for these tracks. We really appreciate it. Here's your copyright notice. We'll be back on Wednesday, the 29th. If you have anything you'd like to talk about, let us know.
Well, you know, by then the part of the impeachment hearings should be over for the.
Yeah, I would think.
But then who knows? I forget what comes after that. But stay tuned for Wednesdays.
Yeah, nothing. I mean, I guess. But I don't know. All right. It's been fun. We'll see you soon.